Hey everybody, welcome to another Couch Potato Racing video. In today's video, I'm going to be going over my wheelbase settings to show off what I currently use. This is kind of an evolving setup that I use, but this is what I'm currently on. Wheelbase settings are kind of a personal thing, so what I may like, you may not like, and vice versa. But it doesn't hurt to experiment with what other people use just to see if maybe you do like it. So I thought I'd share what I use and see if it provides you any value. So I'll be going over all the steer settings, basic settings, mechanical, and presets. So I'm going to dive into presets first. So let's get started with that. All right, so what you're currently seeing here is my custom preset for Assetto Corsa Rally. I named it ACR. I actually built this preset off of the default one that ships with the Simagic software. If I expand the list here and go over here to Simagic, you can see they have a whole bunch of defaults for the various games, and they have a AC Rally one. And if I load that, this is the AC Rally Simagic default setup. And this is what I initially used when I first got the game, and I've slowly just kind of tweaked it and made my own custom one off of it after kind of learning what I kind of liked. And that's what I recommend for anyone new to the game. Just kind of start with the defaults preset and then build your own from there. So going back to my preset, let's see, personal ACR. I'm thinking about making another preset, like one specific for gravel and one specific for pavement, because I have noticed that I kind of maybe have some different preferences between the two when I drive on those. Kind of like in the filter levels maybe, and some other minor tweaks, but right now this is one I use across all surface types for Assetto Corsa Rally. Of note with presets is that it's what I do anyway is if you go over here to the games tab and let's go to the AC Rally, you can have it load your preset when the game launches. That way, if you're playing a different game with a different preset and you switch to Assetto Corsa Rally, you can have it automatically load in your preferred settings for that game. So pretty handy to do that here. Just set it up. So that's what I have got there. So if we go back to my wheelbase settings, I'm going to start here with the steer settings and kind of go through these sections one by one. So let's jump into steer settings next. All right, so steer settings. So the first one we have here is a calibration tool, kind of a self-alignment tool. So if you find that you're kind of driving straight, or your wheel feels like it's cockeyed, you can come in here and hit recenter, and that will set that whatever your angle of your wheel is to the to 0 there, and that'll be your straight. Let me turn my wheel back to what is straight for me. Get that about right. Come on. It's a little touchy there. There we go. That looks about straight to me. So I'm going to center that. This next one I don't mess with at all because I rely on the angle preset values we have here. Up until a couple days ago, based on the car I was driving, I would come in here and change my preset to match that car. So for example, I think the Mini Cooper is an 840. So I come in here and set 840, and that changes the angle and the hard lock angle to match that. And you can come in here and set up, other custom ones. For example, I think 540 is a common one for Rally. So you can set that, and then you can move it up to where it'll show in this list. It only shows up to 4 here in this list. But now you have 540 available. In the 0.3 update they released recently, they released a wheel soft lock feature in game. And what that's intended to do is to allow you to set basically one preset value, like a high value. And then if there's a car that has a lower angle than that, the game will actually restrict the wheelbase from turning further than that angle. So I think the highest value, I know the current highest value in the game is a 1332 on the Alpha Romeo car. So I've set that. I've been experimenting with soft lock. I'm experiencing a bug with it. I'm going to show that here in a minute. But yeah, we do set your wheel angle here to that highest value. And then, let me go jump into the game now and show you that weird bug that I'm experiencing with it. So let me jump into the game. We're going to come over into settings, inputs, force feedback, and I've set the steering lock to match the same angle as the highest one in the game, which is 1332. And here's that new wheel soft lock that you can activate to force the game to limit the wheel rotation based on the car you're driving. So I have it enabled. Real quick, let me show. See, I think I probably need to move my webcam here a little bit. Let's see if I do that. There you go. So over here in the bottom right, you can see the wheel angle for each car. This one's got 540. If I scroll up, I think the Alpha, here's one that has 1332. This is the biggest one. So that's where you can find the wheel angles for the various cars. I currently have the Hyundai selected, which is like a 450. So I'm gonna jump into the game and show you that weird bug that I'm experiencing, just to show that off. So I'm gonna pause the video while this loads and come back when we're in the game. All right, so we're in the game now. The bug, like the actual feature, it works, like it does limit the travel, but the bug is that when I reach that limit, I'm getting this crazy bouncing effect. So let me show that off here. If you watch my steering wheel, I'm gonna hit see how the wheel's just going crazy there when I hit the limit? And same thing, the other direction just goes crazy. So I'm not sure if that's a issue with like how I have my Sim Pro Manager settings, or if that's just a bug with the software. Let me know in the comments if you guys are experiencing that same issue with the soft lock feature in the game. I'm gonna be turning it off because that's just way too distracting while I'm driving to have this, crazy vibration effect when I hit the limit. It would be nice to be able to use that feature, but I'm gonna go back to using my custom presets that I set up to have one for each car until that gets fixed, or I can figure out what my settings are doing wrong to make this weird vibration happen. It's just, unusable for me right now, but it's a cool idea. So yeah, let me know if you have that same issue or if you know of a fix to get around it. I would definitely be curious about that. So let's jump back to the SimPro settings and keep going. All right, so we're back here in the SimPro Manager software, and the next option you have here is the strength for when you hit the limit. So this is basically just how it feels when you hit that limit wheel angle there. So right now I have it set to normal. Soft, there's just a little more give when you hit that limit. Firm, kind of opposite of soft, there's less give. I just keep mine to normal. So that's gonna be a personal preference thing. So that's it for the steer settings. So let's now move on to the basic settings over here. All right, so basic settings, the first one here is probably the one that people play with the most and probably changed near the beginning the most. That's the force feedback. If you recall, the Simagic default for AC Rally was like 60%. What I do is I set my force feedback to 100% within the SimPro software, and then in the game I reduce that value to whatever feels good to me. And in the game right now I have it set to 75% in the game, so 100% here. So that's what 12 to 14 newton meters of force feedback that I'm getting. I check my math there. But yeah, so if you read this right here, this little hover help icon, they recommend starting with 70% here in the software. They say professional players set this value to maximum and then adjust the feedback to a lower value in the game. That's what I'm doing. I'm not a professional player. It's just something I learned from like internet searching. That's the recommended way to do it. So that's the way I do it. The next setting here we have is the filter level. And if you have it set to 0, it's basically off. And the larger you raise it, kind of the smoother things become. I prefer to have as much raw feedback as I can for most things. So I have this set to 0 personally, just to let everything come through. But this is something, another personal preference sort of thing. So you might want to have it set to a little, 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or something like that. Next, we come down to wheel speed rotation. This is one where if you raise the value higher, the faster the wheel can turn, and the lower value will be lower it can turn. I kind of prefer like a lower speed, heavier feel to my wheel. So I've set mine down to 15. And with the way I did that is I basically set all these other mechanical effects to 0, just to kind of find that speed that I liked. And once I found that speed, I then adjusted these values over here, the mechanical damper and friction, to kind of add that weight to that feel. So that's the way I went about it. I think the default for the Simagic preset was like 40, so I just kind of I lowered that down just a little bit, just to where I like it. Force feedback details says this enhances the force feedback on the road surface and the vehicle suspension, and 0 is off. So if you don't want any enhancement of those from the game, you can set it to off. I have it set to like the max value. It does say higher values give more information, but they increase the noise and heat. Noise doesn't bother me because I'm wearing a headset, so I can't hear the wheelbase noise really, and the heat doesn't really bother me at all. So I haven't missed it set to max because I prefer to get a lot of feedback through the wheel. This is something that I would want to have maybe a different preset for on the pavement surfaces. That's why I'm thinking about making a different, like having an ACR gravel preset, an ACR pavement preset. So I feel like I get maybe a little too much feedback from the road when I'm on a tarmac stage. So that's one reason why I'm thinking about making like different surface type presets here for myself. Yeah, so that covers all the basic settings. So let's jump over to the mechanical settings next. All right, so mechanical settings, this first one here is kind of like an, I don't know, artificial intelligence, machine learning setting. Like it tries to predict the next state of the force feedback. And I prefer just rely on the game's values for that. I don't think I really want the wheelbase predicting what's going to be happening based on previous stuff. So I have that set to 0. If you can probably set that up to a couple, 1 or 2 if you want to, just play with it. It says doing it too high can cause too much noise and vibration. So something to consider there. If you start setting it at like crazy high value, you might start getting a lot of more shaking in your wheelbase. Steering torque assist, this one here says that reduces the constant cornering effect of cornering force. I prefer to have the raw value come through, so I don't want it to be reduced. So I have that set to 0%. I think both of these values are set to 0% on the default Simagic preset, so I didn't change them from there. These next two, the mechanical damper, as I mentioned, I kind of turned these off like when I was experimenting with the wheel speed rotation. I turned those off, and then once I found the wheel speed rotation I liked, I then started adding these up to kind of get that feel that I like. And the damper, it says it applies a constant effect to smooth resistance and adds a smooth resistance to the wheel, and it kind of gives it a richer feel too and help dampen some sharp force feedback effects. So I found that around 45 for that felt pretty good in combination with a 35 on the friction. The friction is kind of a very similar to the damper. It's also a constant effect to add weight and improve stability. So those two in combination kind of give it that resistance when you're turning. Inertia is one that I haven't played with much yet. It says it's another one to add heavier wheel and give more momentum. I've tried, I guess I played with it a little bit, like adding it, like if I add it up to 100% here and go down to 0, I don't feel a big change. It says it's supposed to like add more, like I think speed, like if you throw the wheel, allowing it to like, spin longer. So if I throw it and then turn it back down to 0 and throw it, I'm not seeing much of a difference there. I think this was also set to 0 in the default Simagic preset. So I haven't changed it because I'm not really noticing like it doing anything. So that's why I have it set to 0 there. This last one, slew rate control, down there at the bottom, it says it will help balance out strong, sharp effects from like curbs or bumps. I had this set to 0 initially, but then I noticed when I was driving on some stages, like if I hit like a sharp bump, I would get like a really snappy like effect on the wheel. It almost like kind of not quite hurt, but it was uncomfortable. So I've raised this up to 10% just to help maybe reduce some of those like really snappy feels that I get. There might be another setting that can help do that too. I think maybe the damper mentions that it can help reduce sharp effects, but this is one I wanted to maybe use in combination with that because I didn't want to add more heaviness to the wheel. I just wanted, when those sharp effects happen, I want those to kind of be a little calmer. I might raise this up a little bit more to maybe 15%. I'm still kind of experimenting with that when I encounter those really jarring bumps. If I make a mistake, that sort of thing. So yeah, that covers all of those. The other effects section is something I don't mess with. This is like all the stuff coming from the game. It's all set to 100%. Looks like you can go beyond 100% if you want to, like to artificially change those. But most of these I think are kind of covered. Like if you wanted to add more inertia, you could come over here and add more inertia. Same with like damper and friction. Game centering one, yes, I'm not sure what that means. I think that just means like it forcing it back to center. I just leave that to 100%. And I haven't messed with either of these either. Just left them to the defaults. But yeah, so that's where I'm currently at with my setup. I'm curious to get feedback on what you guys use, or if you have any suggestions to improve things, especially on the wheel. Come back. Let's see. There we go. Yeah, on the wheel soft lock feature that the game provides. I like to be able to use it, but I just can't because of that weird like bouncing effect that I get when I hit the limit. So yeah, let me know what you guys think about that. If you found this video helpful, please give me a like and comment give me some feedback, and subscribe if you want to follow along for more Assetto Corsa rally content. Have a great day. See ya.